Okay, so we'll move right on to our next presenter. As I said, he is Reverend Stewart of the Bahamas National Citizens Coalition.
Thank you so much. Good night to everyone. I do apologize for Mr. Wesley Campbell, who is not here tonight. He has asked me to deputize for him because he felt that we were sufficiently involved in the Burma Road experience with an actual reenactment of the walk this morning from 4:30 as it took place historically in 42. We are sponsoring also a 2-day festival in the area where the leaders predominantly came from the Broome Street, Ladd Street, and the Peter Street area. That will take place from tomorrow evening, and then on Wednesday we will be acknowledging the families of those who died and were injured on Wednesday night in the same said area. I didn't come with a lot of opinion tonight. I felt that we ought to be, well, I ought to be true to actually what happened. And the root causes, the root cause, well, there were many causes. And for us to emerge a discussion out of what actually happened. When, after the riot, a commission of inquiry was held, but all through, it was being documented what caused the riot itself. And in my research, and it seems as though I have everything here tonight, the primary cause was economics. In fact, in one of the presentations that was made to the Labor Department at the time, there was a documentation of what the economic situation was. And I'd just like to read what the synopsis of Cypress Thompson, Chester Rodriguez, Estes Forbes, E.R. Folks, Geo McKinsey, Philip M. Saunders, Vincent Marshall, Geraldine, and Joseph Strawn, along with C.R. Walker, S.E. McPherson, Bert Cambridge, and Cyril Beckles wrote and surmised as the cause of what was the economic condition at the time. It says the cost of living is always a factor which is of prime importance when wages and conditions of labor are being considered, because it is an elementary proposition that workers must be properly fed and nourished if they are expected to maintain a constant high standard of work. The Labor Minimum Wage Act of 1936 came into operation about 5 years prior. And soon after this, the 4 shillings a day minimum rate of wage for certain unskilled labor was fixed by order in council. It is fitting that a comparison should be made in the cost of certain common articles of food and clothing as prevailed in 1938 and 1942. The following articles were chosen, and the present day prices were taken from Central Bay Street retail houses, and not from the suburban shops, which actually sold these items at a higher price. They compared the cost of rice, grits, lard, pork, flour, sugar, cheese, salt beef, corned beef, milk, cotton per yard, prints, drill, working shirts, and tennis shoes. They compared the prices of the Minimum Wage Act of 5 years prior to 1942, and they discovered that in 42 there was a 95% increase in the cost of living, but the wages remained the same, to the point where it was difficult for persons who made 4 shillings to meet their bills. Now also, the protest riot took place on June 1st. What is called the Council of Labor, and I may not be naming it correctly, but it's a consortium of labor leaders made representation to the then Department of Labor, or the labor officers, and they asked that the government of the day consider a minimum wage of 8 shillings. That happened the day before the so quote-unquote protest riot. Now, as we look at the characterization of the riot protest from the mind of the Commissioner of Police at the time, he primarily was on Bay Street, and his characterization of what was happening on Bay Street at the time was that it was a labor demonstration. And all through his report before the commission, as he characterized what was taking place hour by hour on Bay Street, he kept saying that yes, there was there were stores whose windows were broken, etc. But he said, I did not see anything to the level that required the magistrate, in fact, to read the Riot Act. As I hurry on through my 5 minutes, we get to the point where there was the shooting incident, I call it. After they had brought Bay Street to a certain level of calm, there was a report that the bar rooms in Grantstown were being pillaged. And at the time, the Commissioner of Police had under his command the regiment, the British regiment as well as his men from his forces. And also with him at the time was the magistrate, because he wanted the magistrate on hand in case he needed to read the Riot Act. And of course, he felt that he saw nothing on Bay Street that warrant the reading of the Riot Act. But when the report came that the bar rooms in Grandstand were being ransacked and pillaged and looted, they rushed in Grandstand. Now, there I feel was a cardinal mistake. They discovered, they went to the first barroom that was looted. They discovered it was looted, etc. They went to the second, they went to the third, they went to the fourth, and they met the men at a place called the Cotton Tree. Now, after looting 4 barrooms, you would not find people who are coherent, people who are reasonable. You wouldn't find people who can obey commands. You will find a drunk lot. And so it is when they decided to approach and subdue that lot, that is actually what caused the shooting. One of the British regiment men, they were hit in the head and fell to the ground, and that brought about the shooting. And so in my view, that was a tactical mistake on their part, which caused the majority of deaths, because I think 2 of the deaths happened earlier, but in my view, that was what caused the deaths, the majority of them. And so I simply sought to let history speak, and for us to move on from there.